If you find something later on that you disapprove, we will bring it back to the church conference and amend them. So I'm not trying to push these down anybody's throats, but we also don't need to take a lot of time reviewing them at this moment. So all those in favor of approving the minutes for the charge conferences that occurred in 2025, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And they pass. So we've had a group work with us, with our congregation, many different groups, actually, over many different years. And this last one was a movement to join the reconciling movement. The reconciling movement is a movement that we can choose to be a part of, that basically allows persons who are interested in finding out if the church they go to is a reconciling congregation, they can go to as a resource, and to know that we've gone through certain steps and certain choices to be a safe place for those who are LGBTQIA. I will confess that it has taken me this long to get to the place where I really do believe our church is ready to say yes to that, and that persons coming through the doors are safe. And so when it was suggested this fall that we might begin looking at that process to be able to become a part of that movement, it received my blessing. And then a group gathered together, and hashed out and worked out and will continue to work on what it means for us to be a congregation that is open and accepting and welcoming to all people. They have given us a statement that I will read. We are not going to open this up for amendment, because it comes to us from a committee of persons who have been meeting, and those meetings have been open to the congregation. So it is as it is presented. So I will read through this, and so you know what you are voting for. The statement is as follows. As we celebrate God's gift of diversity and value the wholeness made possible in a community equally shared and shepherded by all, we believe that all of God's children should be able to have full participation in the United Methodist Church. We welcome and affirm people of every gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation who are also of every age, race, ethnicity, and physical and mental ability, level of education and family structure, and of every economic, immigration, marital, and social status, and so much more. We acknowledge that we live in a world of profound social, economic, and political inequities. As followers of Jesus, we commit ourselves to the pursuit of justice and pledge to journey in solidarity with all who are marginalized and oppressed. At River Hills United Methodist Church, we welcome all. We welcome all of God's children and celebrate the diversity that comes in our creation. We seek to be a church where everyone can come as you are, serve together faithfully, and live into God's inclusive love. There are some explanations of what it means to vote yes and what it means to vote no. I invite you now to vote on this movement. And as you are ready, we have done it by ballot so people can have the full comfort of expressing themselves confidentially in where they are at. As I have often said to people, we don't need to draw our lines in the same places. We just need to know where we draw our lines so we can walk together. So with that, I invite you now to take these next few moments to vote. And we have people with offering plates that are ready to collect those votes when you are ready to give them to us. And again, as Allison explained in worship today, we are taking ballots of members. We also have a different color ballot for those who are not members, but wish to express their where they stand on things, because we think that's important. We also are following the general rules of the denomination in that you need to be present in order to vote. Has everybody had a chance to vote? Balloting is closed, and those counting the ballots have excused themselves. Thank you. Okay. In our reports, we have a number of staff members who have provided some reports for you for your review. I have no desire to read my report to you. You're welcome to do so. It includes all the names of those who have joined our church, who have been removed from our church, and who have been baptized. So if you have any questions of that, those are all there. Are there any other staff members that would like to highlight or share anything on their reports before the group today? And while I hope not to put any of our staff on defense, does anybody have any questions that you'd like to share or ask of our staff in this open meeting? Again, our offices are always open and available. Please feel free to share any concerns that you might have. Seeing none, I'm going to return to page 19 in our reports, where you will find some financial summaries of our time together this year. These are summary reports. By the way, just to be clear, our financials are transparent and they are open to all. There is nothing secret. There are no secret accounts. There are no secrets being kept. If there is something that you would like to ask or you would like to see, you're welcome to that. I would say probably the only thing that is of a not public disclosure are the pastor's discretionary funds, in which those discretionary funds are often used to help people in need and do have some checks and balances to them so that they are aware some pastor's not paying himself or others and benefiting from it unnecessarily. In our 2025 budget year, as you will see when you get your quarterly end-of-year statements, There is a summary of that as well in your summary statements. There is good news. The congregation as a whole responded to the requests for gifts and giving in the last quarter of the year. And as a church, part of our ministries, our congregation part of our ministries, we were able to actually end up in the black by a small margin, but we were able to turn that piece around. And that is good. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. I don't take that lightly. And it took a lot of people's gifts to make that happen. There was no one person that came through and fixed all of our problems. It was literally everybody contributing to help make that happen. Also, I do need to share with you that we did end up with challenges at the end of the year with our child care center. I will share with you in this open meeting a couple of things that I need you to be aware of. One is that if you look at the report, and on that page 19, if you go over to the year-to-date December 2025, towards the bottom, you will see that the child care center was over between $76,000 and $77,000 in the red. That's a big deficit. This is not a regular thing for our child care center. What that represents is a couple things. One is that we had some challenging times this last year. And we had a time in which we lost some teachers who chose to move on, and that also triggered the loss of some of our preschoolers. And that left us in a very difficult place going into the fourth quarter. With that said, this is also the first year that we as a congregation in our budgeting process and plan have recognized and acknowledged that there are church-related expenses that are directly attributed to the child care center. And what I mean by that is, for example, our building custodial care. If we didn't have a child care center, we wouldn't have custodial care 6 days a week. We wouldn't need it. We probably need it 2 or 3 days a week. So literally, a portion of that custodial care can be assigned directly to the child care center, and we began doing that in 2025. There are 2 other categories that we have felt. We have done one of them for a little while, and that's trustees' expense, because there are trustees-related expenses that have to happen because we're a child care center. There's actions that we need to take to make sure that our facility is up to speed for when the state goes through and checks everything. We can't wait to replace carpet, or we can't wait to do certain things to keep it safe for our children. And so there is a portion of that that is directly related to the child care center. The other piece that we've also aligned is an administrative cost. There is a certain amount of my time, Pastor Allison's time, John Syracuse's time, and our bookkeeper's time that is associated with the operations of the child care center. And so there's a portion of that administrative piece that is directly related to our child care center. When we made that choice as a finance committee in 2025 to reassign those expenses to the child care center, there was every reason to believe that they would cover those expenses. In fact, have been covering those expenses for years. We didn't know how things were going to play out this year. And so, unfortunately, it highlighted some weakness there. Some people have asked me, well, Pastor, if we close the child care center, will that help the church? And I'm saying to you, no, it will not. It's an important ministry of who we are, not just today, but historically as well. This is a part of our ministry to our community, and it is an investment that we make on an ongoing basis. Also, if we were to close the child care center, it would also mean that we would need to find that money to cut from our regular budget in order to move forward, which would mean that there would be staffing adjustments, there would be adjustments to our facility care, as well as to the trustees. So, no, that's not an easy solution to this. We are more than happy to talk at greater length to this, but I will tell you that the River Hills Early Childhood Center is a powerful, significant outreach ministry to our community that we need to continue to be invested in and to help them find their way back. Now, do I believe that in this next year they will have that ability to turn around? Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because there are very, very much so healthy portions of that business plan that will continue to grow and will allow us to catch up in the process. Some of you are looking at me like, what are you talking about? I'm just speaking transparently. If it was our infants and toddler programs that suffered losses this last year, it would be very difficult for us to rebound because those losses would continue over the next 4 years. The losses that we had were in the preschool. Half of those losses would be losses we would experience come May or August anyway. So our job is now to rebuild that preschool program, but to continue to move forward with a healthy infant and toddler program at the ECC. Does this make sense? Any questions? Yeah. 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 I do believe so. Yeah. I do believe so. It was and again, I can't talk to personnel stuff. It wasn't a matter of letting anybody go. It was choices that people made. It's a tough industry, and pay scales are difficult to measure between daycare centers. We have confidently moved forward in understanding that when we pay our center teachers, we guarantee them hours. Not all centers do that. They will cut hours as enrollment drops. And we believe that that's an important stance to take. I've always believed we don't pay our staff enough to cut their hours just because kids don't show up that day for whatever reasons. So we keep our staffing the same. If we were to operate as a professional for-profit, we wouldn't do that. And I don't think that's the right thing. Now, we might pay them more per hour. We could choose to do that, but we're not. I've never been convinced that would make up the difference, and that would be the right thing to do for our people. Yeah. Thank you for following up. The question was, have we addressed any issues that we might have outstanding for teachers that have left? Yeah. Yep. The question is, do we actively compare? Yes, we do. We have comparisons, and we oftentimes get that feedback from people that have moved on because of the choices that they've made. We also know and do some comparisons as far as rates and things as well. One of the things that we do as a business that not all businesses do is that we provide for part-time opportunities. And now I'm going to talk a little personally here. Not that this has been a long-standing thing, so it's not because my granddaughter is part of the program, but we do allow for part-time care, because we do believe and have always taken the stance that if there is somebody else in that child's life that is able to care for them a couple days a week, we should encourage that. We should support that and make that possible. Not all child care centers do that. You're either all in or all out. So again, that can be a little bit challenging to balance and run the ratios. But again, because we guarantee hours, that's not as big of a concern. Any other questions regarding that? This is good stuff, and if you do have more questions, we are more than willing to address them and talk them over with you. Yeah. So far, so good. So the question is, are we still receiving grants from the state for support of the child care centers? So there's a couple of different grant streams that come in. You've probably heard about some of the federal grants being frozen or cut. Those are for specific, not overall grants that happen. They're for people that are on special assistance. We do accept special assistance children into our program. Not all child care centers do. And so will we see some of that? Yes. It is not a large portion of the grants that we received. And so far, the state has continued to indicate that child care is an investment that we make as a state to our community and to our young families, and that does happen. Also, just so you know, those grants are determined not based on enrollment, but based on staffing. So that it doesn't fluctuate depending on the enrollment unless your staffing also changes. So that's just how that program works. They literally report every month on what your staffing has been, what your ratios have been, so that they calculate your grant amount. Did I repeat your question? I hope I did. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Leslie. I'll repeat what you've already said. You just continue on.
Whoa. Okay. I don't have a question. I just wanted to remind everyone that our center has whole families that are involved in it. It's not just a few preschoolers from varying families. We literally have whole families involved, and they stay involved. Once they experience the center, they stay involved, and they keep having babies. Seriously, this is what happens. They keep having babies, and they keep bringing the babies to us, and we keep helping raise their babies. So it's a very family-oriented center, and I think a lot of daycare centers are not like that. Just it's a plus that we have.
Thank you, Leslie. Leslie works in the infant room, and trust me, there are seasons in which the infant room is trying of everyone's souls as we get some crying babies that, oh my goodness.
Well, and to add to that, people recruit their own siblings too. So then we have a number of families that the cousins all go to daycare together too. Like you'll see the parking lot full of like 3 sisters all chatting while they're all picking up their kids. Yeah. So the family expands that way too.
Yeah. It's also the other connection too is that many of the families that we have come from our own neighborhood. The people that we serve, probably a much higher percentage than we have in our membership itself represented. So they are people within our community. I will also say that we have a number of people on staff that are members of the church, and that includes not only our teachers and things, but also our assistants and our aides. Many of our young people get their first job experiences at the child care center, and so that's part of who we are. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. I'm going to finish with the finance piece before I announce our vote. On page 20, you will see this is kind of an accounting of designated accounts. So there is a money that is dedicated, that doesn't change from year to year, that flows over from year to year, that was either given or earned, that stays for specific needs and issues. And it also gives you an idea of our available cash situation, which I can say is very healthy as a church, but that's because of the hard work of our finance committee, making sure that we continue to operate in ways that assure that we have cash flow needed. Also, if you look at that number and you think that's wow, that's a lot of money, it'll fluctuate during the year. At the end of the year, it tends to be a little higher because we have people that make their pledge contributions for the entire year before the end of the year. So that allows for the cash flow to be healthy within the church. So there are times where that dips below, and we do want to, we do strive to make sure that we always have 2 months worth of expenses in our account to make sure that our expenses can be covered, payroll can be covered, other things, so that we're not having to manage our cash flow in that way. For those of you who that makes sense. Alan? I think it's worth noting the mortgages. Yes, there's another line on here too that Alan's pointing out. The mortgage balance at the bottom of page 20, 0. We are no longer paying a mortgage. We own what we own. So there's all the things that had been outstanding before have been paid off, and that is where we are at. So that's a good thing. On the next page, on page 21, that's the summary of financials that basically just gives you some different categories to look at things and compare them to the budget. This is what also appears on the back page of your quarterly giving statement each year, so that's for your review. On page 22, we have the budget that was approved by our church council. I also put it before you as an all-church meeting to affirm that budget that they've already approved. Now, some of you may be going, well, why do we have to affirm it if the church council has already approved it? Well, It's really the other way around. The church council has to approve it before the first of the year so that we can actually spend it. There's no authorization to spend the money unless we have a budget. And so that's why it is approved by the church council. But it's always the intention of the church council for that to be transparent and for people to be aware. So I present to you the church budget for 2026. Before we vote on it, though, I want you to turn to page 23 for some good news. And this has to do with the income stream of the church and what I believe are some major steps in the right direction of our congregation. This is the worksheet that I give to the Finance Committee to give them updates on the pledge campaign. And so if you look at 2026 year-to-date compared to 2025, we've increased the number of pledges at our church from 93 to 119. That's huge. And those are literally people who have filled out a pledge card and have passed it along to us. Now, I can tell you there's probably 9 people, and I know that number specifically because there are 9 people that pledged in 2025 that have not yet pledged in 2026, and I will guarantee you every single one of them think they're pledging. And that's okay. That's okay. They're continuing to give. It's all good. We do calculate those estimates in there as well as far as their giving. But this is a great step in the right direction. It also shows on this page, to give you some comparison, you can kind of see that in the budget that was approved, that when it comes to expenses, we have pared down our expenses to be in line with our income streams. And so what normally would have been an amount that we would consider essential to make the budget work. Some people call it a faith factor. I don't call it a faith factor. I just call it, this is money that we don't know where it's coming from yet. Is very much in line with what we think we can sustain in 2026. And that's really good news. Any questions about the budget for 2026 or that income statement that I give you? Again, if for those of you who want to digest it and ask further questions later, you're more than welcome to. So I would like to ask for a vote of affirmation for the budget that has been already approved by the church council, but that this all-church meeting approves this budget moving forward. Any questions or any more discussion? All those in favor of affirming the budget as presented, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed? It passes unanimously for the record. So I would like to share with you that in our vote today, we received 75 votes from members of the congregation, and the vote was 73-2 in favor of the statement. We also had 4 non-members vote, and they all voted in favor. That is the report, and that does easily match the threshold that we need for 75% to become a reconciling congregation. A little aside. I started telling a story in worship and I got sidetracked. In that meeting that I went to last Tuesday, after the meeting, one of the members from the Minnehaha church came up to me and said, "This has nothing to do with what we've been talking about, but we have a family that lives in Burnsville that's looking for a church. Their son is trans. Is River Hills a safe place to go, or can you recommend a church for them to attend? It is the first time, without reservation or hesitation, I looked at this person and said, they will find themselves welcome at River Hills Church. And she said, she looked at me. That's good news. The other side of that, she looked at me and she said, really? Really? That's not the answer I expected. There's a reason why taking the step is important. Because it's not readily apparent where people can feel safe to come to worship. And we don't send that signal out to people, and we should celebrate that all of God's children can know that they're welcome here. So that's a good thing. Okay, moving on. In our next report is the membership reports. These are membership inactive and unresponsive lists. We have 2 lists that need our approvals. One is the 1-year list. You will find it on page 25. And this 1-year list are persons who have either, that we are aware of, haven't attended worship, which is difficult because we don't know everybody who is out in the live stream. So we reach out to them and we say, if you would like to stay on our membership, you are more than welcome to stay on our membership. And these are people that we either haven't heard back from or we aren't aware of either attending, being a part of our ministries, or have made contributions. So that's who makes up this list. When we approve this, it does nothing more than moves them onto the 2-year list for next year. And then we do more follow-up to make sure that they really are being cared for by another congregation or are looking for someplace else or are wanting to reconnect with us as a community. So this is the people on the 1-year list. If there's any questions or concerns, I would love to entertain them, and in fact, I missed this one, and I apologize. We need to remove Molly and Michael Devlin off that list. We baptized their baby this year, so they were here. So please make that amendment on that. I didn't catch that the first time through. Yeah. Why is this important to remove their names? It's important for us to be aware of who is connected and who's not connected. So this is our way of honestly caring for these people. It's not to remove them off the list. It doesn't make a difference with our apportionments. It doesn't make a difference for any financial reasons. Is there a pew tax or something like that is the question. The question is why is it important for us to care about this? It's important for us to care about this because these are people we care about. And some of them have moved away. You know, to be clear, some of them, Kim and Derek Barksdale, are good friends of mine. I love them dearly. They live down in Memphis. There was a while there where they were, during COVID, would read scripture for us from afar. It's our way of making sure that Kim and Derek are finding a place for themselves or renewing that they want this to continue to be their place even if they live in Memphis, because they may own property here and may plan on returning and they just want to be a part of us, and that's great. It's wonderful. But it's our way of caring, so thank you for asking. Anybody else that we need to amend that first-year list? So we're removing Molly and Michael Devlin. Again, my apologies for letting that slip through. That's all me. Anyone else? Seeing no other changes to that list, all those in favor of moving this list forward as our one-year list, please say aye. Opposed? That is our one-year list. Our two-year list, we just have one name on it, and Amber Mitchell, which I am confident is cared for in another congregation. We have not heard back, and in fact, it's been difficult to figure out how to get in touch with her. We love her dearly, but she doesn't need to be on our membership lists anymore. Any questions or comments on that? All of those by action of this annual all-church meeting to remove her membership, please say aye. Opposed? And that completes the membership report. Following this, you can see we have other information here. You're welcome to send a note to any of these folks if you'd like to. Don't needle them or pressure them or anything. But if you know some of these people that are on this list, it's okay to reach out and just say, hey, we love you. Things are good. The following list is another list of people that have either been removed or added to our membership list this last year. I do understand that there's a couple people that expressed some interest in becoming members of the church. Just talk to us. We'll get you on the rolls. We'd love to have that. Any other questions? All right. Also, for your information, the pastoral compensation forms are as follows for myself and for Pastor Allison. This is important to me. It's important to me to help you understand what your pastors make. This is not the case in all churches. And it's important to me to help have you understand what that is and what that compensation looks like. I also like to take this opportunity to share with you that our compensation is not like most of you in the business world, in that we are considered self-employed even though our paychecks come from the church. What does that mean? That means that when it comes to taxes, we pay for all of our FICA and our Medicare. The church does not pick up half of that, and we pick up the other half. We pay for all of that. So if you look at this in some ways and be like, wow, that's a lot more money than I thought it was, just understand that it doesn't, there aren't other pieces that aren't loaded into this that in other corporations there might be. Does that make sense? And also on this list are things like continuing education, travel, professional expenses that are all related to the work that we do here. In most companies and businesses, that would just be another part of the budget. But we want you to know what's in here for your pastor's use. Did I cover? Is that anything else I should mention? Any questions about that? And again, these have already been approved by a much smaller group at the cluster conference, but I would love your affirmation of this as well in this open meeting. So all those in favor of approving the compensation packages for myself and Pastor Allison, please say aye. Opposed? Thank you. We are blessed to be doing ministry with you. All right, the last few pieces include the ministry and mission plan report. This is good reading. Take some time to read to this. Is there anything we need to lift up from that? I know there's a lot of work on this. Some of these reports, by the way, are new this year with the annual conference. Our bishop, who is doing a wonderful job, has sort of shifted some things for us to help us to look at some things in some different ways, which can be frustrating for those of us who are used to filling out our tables in normal ways. So please take a look at this. If you have questions or want to contribute anything to any of these, please do not hesitate. So last but not least is the nomination and leadership report. This is a summary of persons who work on your behalf in committees and are part of our congregation's ministries and how we organize. There are lots of openings here. And those openings represent opportunities for people to engage. Some of these will need the approval of this gathering. I will put the whole report before us so that all of it is approved. But one of the things that needs to be addressed is we have a group called it's not nominating anymore, what's it called? Committee on Nominations and Leadership Development. That needs to come from this group. There are some people that are listed here, but we are always open to having people either self-nominate or nominate others. This is the group of people that actually goes through and helps us find people to serve in different ways in the church. Is that fair? Okay. Anybody want to self-nominate to be a part of that group? You want to talk to it?
I just want to mention that most of these committees meet once a month all year. The nominations committee, which officially has a different name, but we call it the nominations committee, we tend to meet a few times just in the fall. And what we would really like is people who are comfortable reaching out to a wide variety of people, know a wide variety of people, but maybe also people that know a wide variety of people that aren't the exact same people that we have asked to do all the things all the times before.
Nicely said.
Yeah, I mean, we love that there's a core group of people who have been dedicated for a long time. Super awesome. We love that the church would fall apart without those people. But we also tend to sort of rotate. Like, raise your hand if you've been on like 6 different committees over the last like 40 years. Yeah. Like, a lot of people are like, yeah, I've been on that committee. I've been on that committee too. We love that. You're awesome. Thank you for doing that. But there might be somebody that is wondering why nobody has ever asked them. And so if you know those people, we would also love to have you on the nominations committee. And you get to work with me.
And if if you are one of those people and want to be included, just talk to her. Don't talk to me because I'll forget to tell her. Just talk directly.
Or he'll say, oh yeah, somebody
There's
told
that
me.
person.
They sit like on the right, like in the...
That's a real conversation, people. That's a real conversation. I also just want to highlight a couple of other places where we are definitely in need of additional people. Our finance committee is while we have people that go to finance committee, like our treasurer, like your pastor, we are down to a chairperson and 2 members, which means one always has to make the motion and the other one always has to second it for it to happen. And just to note, Bob Barrett is in his 5th term. We are very thankful that Bob continues to be because he provides great insight and resources. But we could use a few more people. So, and most of the time, real conversation, when the nominations committee has asked people which committee you want to join, they will say, any of them except for finance. We're not that bad of people, and actually, if you enjoy numbers at all, we're your people. So come
You're
be
excited about it being tax season.
Yeah. so consider that. So the trustees are, I think, and the nominations are 2 of the groups that have to have the approval of this group. But we put this forward for everybody, for everybody's consideration. So is there any questions or thoughts, concerns about the people we have on the nominating report? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the nominations report as lovingly developed by our associate pastor and the work of the nominations committee, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And it passes. Friends, that is our annual church meeting. Thank you. Oh, yes. Please, come on up. Go ahead, stand up.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Connie Andel. I'm current chair of the Staff Parish Relation Committee. And I want to say something to all of you who have never been on a committee here at the church. I've been a member since '85. You know, did Sunday school teaching, you know, I ushered for years, and I was kind of on the periphery, and I come to church and, you know, hi everybody and stuff. Then I got a call one day from this lovely person over here saying, you know, would you like to be on the staff parish, or no, you asked me which committee, and I said no to the finance. And then I said staff parish, you know, relations. I thought, well, I could talk to people. You know, I can hear what people have to say. Well, it's a lot more than that now that I'm on the committee. I think this is my 4th year, maybe, whatever. But what I want to say is, because I'm on this committee, I feel much more connected than I ever have. Like I said, I've been a member here since '85. I feel much more connected. I know people. I feel like when I come in here, I'm, you know, not necessarily more welcome, but just more part of the church instead of just coming in, sitting down, and going home. So my plea to you is, if you've never been on a committee, think about it again and be a part of something. Certainly come to my committee. I'm always looking for new people so that I can leave, you know. Yeah, just, you know, step forward and go, well, I'm going to give it a try. Give it a try. You'll be amazed at the people that you meet and the involvement that you feel. I feel, like I said, I've been here forever, but I feel much more connected and responsible too. But yeah, it's just a good feeling. So if you've never been on a committee before, think about it, try it, and I think you'll be pleased. But apparently we need more finance people, so thank you.
And I think maybe one of the words that you're looking for, Connie, is you feel invested in the congregation. Oh, John's over here too.
I was reminding that there's something I put on the agenda that maybe I shouldn't have put there, which was recognition of service. But before I say that, in 2016, I went to coffee with Pastor Robert, and I said to him, hey, so when are we going to become a reconciling congregation? Because I know I want to marry this man, and I want to marry him in the church. And I remember he looked at me and he smiled, but you could just see the sweat beads like on his forehead. And he says, well, you know, I'm with you, the church, you know, we're making strides and we're moving forward, and we're like in all the corporate speak that you think that one would say in those moments. But, you know, I just, you know, that if we open that door and this doesn't go well, then, you know, I'm going to have to leave the church. And I'm like, whoa. No, you're not leaving the church. But, you know, and fast forward, we've been through some times, right? You know, there's been some changes originally with the national conference. There were changes back. There good, bad, tears, laughter, so much stuff. But the reality is, why we're this past today has nothing to do with Glenn or I. This passed today because of the work of everybody in this room and the listening sessions and the remembering that we are all beloved children of God. And I cannot be more proud to be a member of this church. So thank you all.
Thanks. Okay, and speaking of recognition, do you want to do this? As the nominations?
Yeah, sure. We just wanted to mention, we have a few people cycling off of committees. Dennis Benson is cycling off. Good job. Thank you for your service. Yes, woo woo. We also want to mention Dennis Becker is cycling off finance after 17 years. And Carol Becker is cycling off finance after trustees after 12 years. So, good work. Thank you.
And so to be clear, Dennis Benson cycled off after 3 years, so you don't have to stay 17 or 12 years in order to be a part of a committee.
That's the one part that I hesitate, right? Because I was on a committee once that people used to say the only way to get off this committee was to die. And somebody had been on it for 40 years, and at that point I was 42 years old. And he actually did pass, and everyone was like, we're joking. What? And Connie makes a joke. She wants other people to join the committee so she can leave someday. So on the one hand, it is very important to honor and recognize how long people have been on committees, because that historical memory, that institutional memory is critical, right? Because there's things to do with the building or things to do with our accounts that somebody needs to remember why it is that way, or where that document is, or when that temporary wall was put up, right? We also need people to know that it isn't like you're not joining for the rest of your life, unless you want to. If you want to, yes, please do. But you can join. They're 3-year terms, but we do in fact have people who join. They'll say, "I'll join for 1 year. I'll join for 2 years, but then I'm going to retire and I want to have that freedom." That's fine. That is not a big deal if you want to join for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 6.5 years. We've had people say they'll join in July, but they can't start in January. It's fine. I love rules, but not those rules. So yeah, feel free to try it, and then switch to finance later when you find out that it was more awesome.
And I'm just saying, the last Finance Committee meeting, we had some pretty awesome treats. So if anybody's ever had Brenda Lawrence's caramels or any of the other candies she makes, she's our finance chairperson.
Missions also usually has treats. Missions also very often has treats.
Any other comments people want to lift up at this time? So thank you. I am just going to do another little highlight for the Unclobbered Bible study that's going to start for Lent. John, so people that know, John is a retired pastor from our Minnesota conference. He expressed an interest, and believe it or not, his interest that he expressed to lead this study also coincided with conversations that we were beginning to have amongst the staff, that we're going to try to use Lent as an opportunity to talk about how sometimes the scriptures that we have been used to harm and to hurt. Lent is a time of repentance. It's a time of changing, like I talked about today a little bit. And so we're going to use that Lent time to really prepare for resurrection. And so these two things kind of are going to go hand in hand. We're not going to spend the whole time in worship talking about the one topic that John is working on, but we're going to open it up to the other ways that sometimes the church has held people back or been a part of the oppression. And believe it or not, there's good news in that. I know it sounds heavy, but there's good news in that. With that, friends, go forth in peace. Know you have done good work and done good things, and we share the good news to all the world. Go in peace.